Well, hello, welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some favorite friggin' books. So I'm on the chillest of chill modes today, and that is why I'm wearing my boyfriend's baggy sweatshirt and his sweatpants, but that's neither here nor there. I basically didn't feel like getting dressed to do these videos, so today I am going over my top 10 favorite books that I read this year. This is technically not my literal top 10 as far as my ratings for the year, because I cut out all of the rereads because there were quite a few books that were 5-star reads that were rereads. Hunger Games, I'll Give You the Sun, and so on and so forth, books like that. So I cut those out. So these are all new to me favorites for this year. I'm gonna go from lowest to highest. Number 10, I actually own this now, and that is The Queen of Sorrow by Sarah Beth Durst. This is book 3 in this series, and what is it called? Queens of Renthia, good Lord. And I really liked this series a lot, hence boyfriend got me the series for Christmas, yay. It's a YA fantasy world. It's a little dark though. It's, I don't know if I want to call it dark, but there's some more serious things that happen. There's some murder and gore a little bit. Sometimes it's a little intense when people are dying and stuff. The stakes are very high. We have elemental magic, spirits who have magic, and human queens who have magic that they have to control all of these spirits. And that's all I'm going to say about it, but I really enjoyed it. On my 1 to 10, I gave this one a 7.8, which ended up being 4 Pusheen-Acorns. Number 9, I do not own yet, but I definitely plan on purchasing it. I have the sequel pre-ordered, and it's coming out in January, if memory serves me. And that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. This is a Beauty and the Beast reimagining, retelling, where our main character is in our world, and she gets transported to this other realm by way of things that you don't need to know because they're spoilery. And then the Beauty and the Beast stuff starts coming into play. There's a curse and blah, 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 and he's a beast. And there's different elements to that worked into this story that are pretty cool as far as with the curse and everything. And then we have disability representation in this book. Our main character has cerebral palsy, and it's done really well. I just thought it was done really well, just the way I read it, nothing about it. You know when you might not be part of a group or a community, but you read something that you're just like, this doesn't sit right, it feels weird, it feels off or whatever. It didn't feel like that at all. And then I've seen Own Voices reviews. I will link one in particular down below that they've said the same thing, that it was good representation of what it is to have cerebral palsy. So yay to Brigid Kemmerer for that. And it wasn't the core focus of the story. So it wasn't like the story was about this main character's pain and suffering with having cerebral palsy. It wasn't like that at all. It was just part of who she was. On my 1 to 10, I gave this an 8, which is 4.5 Pusheen-Acorns. And then The Book of the Unnamed Midwife by Meg Ellison. I also do not own this, but I'm going to continue with the series, and if I really like book 2 and book 3 as well, then I will probably purchase this because, ooh, it was so good. It is a dystopian where there is a plague, basically, that's wiping people out, and it's specifically wiping out women and children. It does wipe out a lot of men, but it hits women and children much harder. Before civilization collapses, right before the infant mortality rate is 100%. Every baby being born is dying, and the mothers are dying in childbirth. And then other people get sick as well, and some people survive. And our main character wakes up after having the sickness, clearly surviving, and civilization has collapsed entirely. And it's about her, and she was a nurse, and it's about her trying to survive living as a man because it's very dangerous. It's now that most women...
Why did I say that weird?
Most women on Earth are gone. They're hot commodities, and she comes across a varying array of characters, some that are nice, lovely people, some that are not so nice, lovely, and it gets real grim, real dark in a few places. There's rape, sexual assault, definitely look out for that if that is an issue for you, because yeah, it doesn't shy away from it. Same rating for this, an 8 on my 1 to 10, which is 4.5 Pushinicorns. And then The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. This is book 1 of the Queens of Renthia series, and I just was hooked right away with this world and everything, and you know, I already kind of explained what it's about, but in this one, it's definitely kind of ramping up, but still a lot happens. Like, there's still a lot of action. And I really enjoyed the world building. Like, that's the thing that really hooked me, but I still also really enjoyed the characters. Definitely thumbs up to the series. On my 1 to 10, this got an 8.16, which is also 4.5 Pushinicorns. Man, this one, it feels like it was a longer time ago that I read this book, but Pride by E.B. Zaboy I read this year. I think it was in February, yeah, because it was for Blackathon that I read this. And this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in Brooklyn. Afro-Latino main character, and the family, she lives in Brooklyn in the neighborhood, and then this rich family moves across the street into this like old mansion that they have remodeled and everything, and so that's the, you know, Mr. Darcy. And I really loved the writing style. This is a book where I didn't fall in love with the characters necessarily. A few times in the plot, the characters were kind of like, I mean, it's teenagers, it's YA, and so a couple times they're doing teenagery things with romance where I was kind of like, okay guys. But holy God, E.B. Zaboy's writing style, her authorial voice just spoke to my fucking soul. I loved it so much, and I want to reread it so I can tab up this copy because I had read it originally from the library, and then I got this gorgeous pink. Oh my God. I've seen other people not really love it because the authorial voice didn't do that much for them, and then the characters didn't do that much, but man, the writing just so beautiful. But it's not like purple prose or anything, just I wish I had it tabbed so I could show some of my fave things. Oh, and on my 1 to 10, this is 8.3, 4.5 Pushinicorns. Number 5 and number 4 are from the same series, so I'll show you both at the same time. So number 5 is Age of War by Michael J. Sullivan. This is book 3 of the Legends of the First Empire series, and then Age of Legend, which is book 4. And these also actually got the same rating. On my 1 to 10, 8.5, which is 4.5 Pushinicorns. I just really love this series. It's high fantasy, epic high fantasy, and there's 4 books out currently. There's gonna be 2 more that are coming out. It looks like both are coming out next year. I'm not sure. It's self-published now. The first 3 books were not, but then something with the audio book rights, Michael J. Sullivan, like, something about that where like he had to do it self-published. I don't know all the details, but at any rate, I think both book 5 and book 6 are gonna come out next year. And I'm so excited because I just love these characters. The writing style isn't like anything that blows my mind necessarily, but I love the character development, and I just think he's a really solid writer when it comes to that. I appreciate it. It's a large cast of characters, and I feel like invested in all of their individual plights and, you know, character growth and whatnot. That's adult fantasy also. I don't think I said that. Number 3 is one that I just read recently, and that is The Guinevere Deception by Kiersten White. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm very excited for the next book. It's not my favorite Kiersten White, but I still really, really enjoyed this. I just loved Guinevere as a character. It's YA, I should probably say that. And it's a retelling of the Arthurian or Camelot legend, where Guinevere is a changeling and she is sent by Merlin to help protect Arthur and kind of spy for him and whatnot. And I just loved Guinevere, and I love Kiersten White's writing. She is an auto-buy author for me, except for the Slayer series. I'm still debating whether or not I'm gonna keep Slayer. For now I am, but yeah, this one was a hit for me. On my 1 to 10, I gave it 8.66, which is 4.5 Pushinicorns. Number 2 is The Reluctant Queen by Sarah Beth Durst. This is book 2 of the Queens of Renthia series. So I liked this one the most. out of the trilogy, and it just really packed a punch for me. Definitely had a lot of action, and we're introduced to a new character and a couple of new characters, and I really liked them. Another queen is introduced. I really enjoyed her also. Just this world, man, I love it. And this one got a little emotional for me in parts, if I remember correctly. On my 1 to 10, this got an 8.83, which is 4.5 Pushinicorns. And then my number one favorite new to me book that I read this year, and that is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. Who is surprised? Hopefully none of you. If you've been here for a minute, you know I've been gushing about this since I read it. Oh, fuck, I just love this book. It's historical fiction, adult, and it's an older woman telling her life story to a younger woman. And in the 1940s in New York, she was living there in a playhouse, in a theater, kind of a rundown one with her aunt. And there's this whole cast of characters that are a lot of fun. I fucking found myself dying laughing at certain points throughout this book. Like, it's so funny, but it's also so touching. And the premise, the younger woman that she's talking to, is a woman who wrote her a letter to say, my father has passed away. Can you finally tell me who you were to him? And our main character says, I can't tell you who I was to him, but let me tell you who he was to me. And then she launches in, and it's her telling this story. And throughout the whole book, like, there were parts where I forgot. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's right. I don't know who Angela's dad is. And it's not really revealed until towards the end. And it's just, there's so much to this book. I just can't even... I can't even describe it. This was the first fiction by Elizabeth Gilbert that I had read, only the second Elizabeth Gilbert book, but I went ahead and picked up The Signature of All Things by her because I love this so much that I can only assume I'm gonna love any other fiction that she writes, at least any other historical fiction. Because, like, when I love historical fiction, but there is a lot of it that is a miss for me, and like, this is what I want. This is what I want my historical fiction to be. So on my 1 to 10, I gave this a 9.5, which is 5 Pushinicorns. There we have it. Those are the top 10 that I read, new to me. If you read any of these, let me know down below what you thought of them. If you horribly disagree with me and my opinions, it's always fun to find out. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.